I can still hear the echoes of her screams, sharp, panicked, cut off too soon. They've been clawing at my mind ever since that night. I wish I could unsee what I saw. I wish I had never set foot outside my door, but I did, and what happened next can never be undone. It was a cold night in February 2025, in the quiet town of Épinay-sur-Orge, France. That's where everything changed. That's where I came face to face with something I never thought possible. Evil. True, mindless evil. And it was wearing the face of an ordinary man. It started with a game. A stupid, meaningless video game. Fortnite. I didn't think much of it when O&L lost. I mean, who hasn't been frustrated by a game before? But when he slammed his fists into the desk, when he threw his controller with enough force to crack the wall, I saw something in his eyes that unsettled me. It wasn't just anger. It was something darker, something twisted, something that didn't belong in a person's soul. Then, without a word, he grabbed his coat, stormed out of the house, and disappeared into the night. I should have stopped him. I should have said something, but I didn't. And now, a little girl is dead. I remember the way the streetlights flickered when he walked past them, like even they were afraid. I remember the way the air turned heavy, thick with something I couldn't quite name. And I remember the sick feeling in my stomach, the kind that tells you something terrible is about to happen. But I never could have imagined the horror that awaited in those dark, silent woods. Owen walked with purpose, like a man on a mission, but not a righteous one. A mission soaked in something sinister. I watched him from a distance, my gut twisting, but I still couldn't bring myself to move. It wasn't until I saw her that I realized what was happening. An 11-year-old girl, alone, skipping along the sidewalk, oblivious to the danger lurking just ahead. Her name was Louise LaSalle. I didn't know it then. I didn't know anything about her except that she was just a child. Just a kid who had no idea she was being hunted. Owen called out to her, his voice eerily calm, almost friendly. He told her he needed help, that he had lost something in the woods, something valuable. The way he spoke, so casual, so convincing, made my blood turn cold. And when she hesitated, when she tilted her head in curiosity, I wanted to scream at her to run, but I didn't. I just stood there, watching, frozen, useless. She followed him. I don't know if she trusted him, or if she just didn't want to be rude. Either way, she walked right into his trap, into the woods, into the darkness, and I followed. Step by step, my heart pounding so loudly I thought it might shatter my ribs. The deeper we went, the quieter it got. No birds, no wind, just silence. A heavy, suffocating silence that made my skin crawl. And then, without warning, he stopped. The girl turned to face him, her eyes wide with confusion, and in that split second, I saw it. The flash of silver in his hand, the knife. And before I could even breathe, he lunged. The first stab didn't kill her. It wasn't instant. It was slow, terrifying. A scream ripped through the night as the blade sank into her small frame, her hands clawing at Owen's arms, trying to push him away. But he was relentless, a man possessed. He pulled the knife out and stabbed again, and again, and again. Blood sprayed onto the dirt, warm and glistening in the pale moonlight. Her tiny body convulsed, her legs giving out beneath her. She tried to speak, but the words came out as choked gurgles. I wanted to help. I wanted to run, but my feet felt like they were buried in cement. My lungs refused to work. I could only watch as life drained from her body, as her small fingers twitched, reaching for someone to save her, but no one came. Owen stood over her, panting, his chest rising and falling with adrenaline. And then, as if the reality of what he had done finally crashed down on him, he stumbled back, the knife slipping from his fingers. For a moment, just a moment, I thought I saw regret, fear. But then his expression changed. He exhaled, relaxed, as if all the anger, all the frustration that had driven him into the night had finally been released. He wiped his hands on his jacket, turned, and walked away. Just like that, as if he hadn't just murdered a child, as if he hadn't just committed something so unspeakable it made my stomach turn. And I cowered that I was waited until he was gone before I finally moved. I dropped to my knees beside her, my fingers trembling as I reached out, unsure if she was still breathing. She wasn't. Her eyes, wide and unseeing, stared past me, into the void of the night. I whispered an apology, though I knew she couldn't hear me. My mind raced. What do I do? Call the police? Run? Pretend I never saw anything? But I couldn't move. I couldn't think. Then, from the distance, I heard footsteps. Not Owen's. Someone else. A jogger. A stranger who would stumble upon this nightmare just as I had. Panic seized me. If they saw me, if they found me here, standing over a dead girl, they would think I did it. And maybe, in some way, I did. Maybe by doing nothing, by letting it happen, I was just as guilty as Owen. I turned and ran, faster than I ever had in my life. I ran until my lungs burned, until my legs ached, until the screams inside my head became unbearable. But no matter how far I went, I couldn't escape what I had seen, what I had allowed to happen. The news broke the next morning. The entire town was in shock. And Owen? He sat in his room, playing Fortnite like nothing had happened. But the police were closing in. It was only a matter of time. And me? I was drowning in guilt, in regret, in the realization that I had witnessed the depths of human evil and had done nothing to stop it. I'll never forget that moment when my world came crashing down. It started with a simple notification from my bank. Your account balance is below £500. My heart skipped a beat. That couldn't be right. Just yesterday, I had over £2,000 in there. With trembling hands, I opened my banking app, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Transaction after transaction, all to Epic Games, they kept coming, like a nightmare that wouldn't end. But the true horror? I hadn't made any of these purchases. My mind raced to my 10-year-old son, Noah, who had been playing Fortnite obsessively for the past few weeks. The room started spinning as I counted up the charges, pound 1,200 in total. Gone. Just like that. But this was just the beginning of a dark journey that would change how I viewed the innocent world of gaming forever. The signs were there, but I was blind to them. Noah had always been a quiet kid, preferring the virtual world to the real one. When he discovered Fortnite, his eyes lit up in a way I hadn't seen before. I thought I was being a good mother by letting him play. After all his friends were on it. We set up what we thought were strict guidelines. Homework first, then gaming. 1 hour a day, that was the rule. I even connected my card to his account, thinking it would be safer than giving him his own. It's just for the battle pass, he said, those innocent eyes looking up at me. Everyone has it, Mom. How could I say no? I thought I had it all under control. I thought I was being careful. But that's the thing about digital dangers. They creep up on you, silent and deadly, until it's too late. Confronting Noah was the hardest part. My husband and I sat him down, our hearts heavy with dread. The look of confusion on his face as we showed him the transactions was genuine. He had no idea each of those colorful skins, those exciting emotes, those special pickaxes were costing us real money. But it was just a button, he kept saying, tears streaming down his face. I didn't know it was real money, Mom. I thought it was game money. His words hit me like a punch to the gut. In his mind, he was just playing a game, but that game had been designed to blur the lines between fantasy and reality, between virtual coins and real currency. The predatory nature of it all became crystal clear, and a new kind of fear set in. How many other parents were living this same nightmare? What I discovered next chilled me to my core. As I dug deeper into the world of in-game purchases, I found countless horror stories just like mine. Parents who had lost thousands, children who had emptied their family's savings accounts without realizing it. The game's design was brilliant in its deception. Bright colors, exciting animations, and the constant promise of something better just one purchase away. The psychological manipulation was so subtle, yet so effective. I spoke to experts who explained how these games are specifically designed to trigger the same responses as gambling in developing brains. My son hadn't just been playing a game, he had been caught in a carefully crafted trap, and we had unknowingly led him right into it. Fighting back seemed impossible at first. Epic Games' customer service was a maze of automated responses and dead ends. Hours turned into days as we tried to reclaim what was lost. Each rejection felt like another nail in our financial coffin, but I refused to give up. I documented everything: screenshots of transactions, timestamps of purchases, my son's age verification. I reached out to other parents, finding strength in their similar stories. We weren't just fighting for our money anymore. We were fighting against a system designed to exploit children. The battle took weeks, draining us emotionally and mentally. Every day brought new challenges, new revelations about how deep this problem really went. In the end, we got our money back, but the experience left scars that won't easily heal. We've completely changed how we approach gaming in our house now. Noah's account has been stripped of all payment information, and we've had long, painful conversations about the value of money, both real and virtual. But the most terrifying realization? This could happen to anyone. Right now, as you're watching this, countless children are clicking away at colorful buttons, unknowingly draining their parents' bank accounts. The gaming industry's predatory practices continue to evolve, finding new ways to separate families from their money. So, I share this story not just as a warning, but as a wake-up call. Because the next victim? It could be you. Check your accounts, talk to your kids, and remember, in the digital world, not everything that looks like a game is actually playing fair. Help me! The scream tears through my headset at 3:47 a.m., shattering the silence of my room. My hands freeze on the keyboard, my Fortnite character standing motionless in the final circle. That voice, it's coming from Evan's mic, but it doesn't sound human. It's the kind of scream that chills your blood, the kind that triggers something primal. Run. Evan? My voice cracks. Ragged breathing. Then, a whisper so faint I almost miss it. It's in here with me. Terror grips me as his breathing quickens. Fast. Desperate. A rustling noise crackles through his mic, frantic movement. I can see it. Evan whimpers. In the corner. Oh God, it's... His voice cuts off. Silence. Then, barely audible. Asterisk, asterisk. I'm under the bed. It doesn't know I'm here. Please come. Please. Asterisk, asterisk, I'm already running to my car. Phone pressed to my ear, the game forgotten. Evan's harsh breathing fills my head as I break every speed limit between our houses. 3 minutes. Asterisk, asterisk. That's how long it takes me to reach him. 3 minutes of listening to my best friend, trying to breathe so quietly that the thing in his room won't hear him. When I screech into his driveway, the house looms before me, swallowed in darkness. His parents are away for the weekend. He's alone in there. With it, asterisk, asterisk. The porch light flickers as I sprint to the door, my heart threatening to burst from my chest. Evan's breathing has gone silent. Too silent. Asterisk, asterisk. The house was pitch black when I entered, using only my phone's flashlight to guide me. Every shadow seemed to move. Every creak of the floorboards made me jump. I called out Evan's name again, trying to keep my voice steady despite the fear that was threatening to paralyze me. As I climbed the stairs to his room, each step felt heavier than the last. His door was slightly ajar, and I could hear faint breathing coming from inside. I pushed the door open slowly, my hand shaking as I swept the flashlight beam across the room. Everything looked normal at first, his gaming setup still running, the Fortnite lobby screen casting an eerie blue glow across the walls. Then I heard it, a muffled sob from under the bed. I dropped to my knees, and there was Evan, curled up in a tight ball, his eyes wide with terror. He was here, he kept repeating. I saw him, right in that corner. I helped him out from under the bed, and that's when we both saw them. Deep, jagged scratch marks in the wooden floor, right where Evan had been hiding. They looked fresh, as if something had been trying to claw its way under the bed. We called the police immediately, but by the time they arrived, there was no sign of an intruder. No forced entry, no fingerprints, nothing disturbed in the house. The officers suggested it might have been Evan's imagination, triggered by playing too many horror games. But those scratch marks were real. I touched them myself. The next few weeks were tough. Evan refused to sleep in his room, and who could blame him? He moved his gaming setup to the living room and started sleeping on the couch. His parents were concerned but supportive, even talking about moving to a new house. I spent a lot of time with him, trying to help him feel normal again. We still played Fortnite, but something had changed. Every sudden noise, every shadow made us both jump. The incident had left its mark on us, but we were starting to think maybe it was just a one-time thing. Some unexplainable event that we could eventually put behind us. Then came the message from Jake, another friend from our gaming group. He had been playing solo late one night when he heard something through his headphones. A scream. The same scream. He said it sounded distant at first, like it was coming from somewhere else in his house. But then it got closer and closer, until it seemed to be right outside his room. Jake lived alone in a small apartment, and there was no way anyone else should have been there. He sent us a recording from his stream, and when I heard it, my blood turned to ice. It was identical to what we'd heard through Evan's mic that night. The same pitch, the same bone-chilling intensity. But this time, there was something else in the recording, something we hadn't noticed before. Beneath the scream, barely audible, was a sound like nails scraping against wood. As we dug deeper, we discovered something terrifying. Other gamers had reported similar experiences, always late at night, always while playing Fortnite, always starting with that same distinctive scream. Some had dismissed it as a glitch or a hacker pulling pranks, but we knew better. We found forum posts dating back months, all describing the same pattern. It would start with the scream, then the sense of a presence in the room, and finally, those scratch marks. Some players had even captured footage, but the cameras would always glitch at the crucial moment, showing only static or distorted images. One player claimed to have seen a figure in the corner of their room, tall, unnaturally thin, with limbs that seemed too long for its body. But the most chilling detail was something we found in a hidden Discord server. Every single incident had occurred exactly 3 months apart, and according to the pattern, the next occurrence would be tonight. We tried warning others, posting about it on every gaming forum we could find. Most people thought we were crazy or trying to start some kind of urban legend, but we knew the truth. As the sun began to set, Evan, Jake, and I decided to face whatever this thing was together. We set up our systems in my basement, surrounded by cameras and recording equipment. If this entity was real, we were going to prove it once and for all. It's happening right now as I type this. We've been playing for hours, the tension building with every passing minute. The cameras are running, but they've started to malfunction one by one, each showing nothing but static. The temperature in the basement has dropped dramatically. I can see my breath in the air. Jake just muted his mic, saying he heard something upstairs in his house. Evan's hands are shaking so badly he can barely hold his controller. And me? I can feel it. A presence watching us, growing stronger with each passing second. The scratch marks have started appearing on the walls around us, carving themselves into the concrete as if by invisible claws. The scream is coming. I know it is. But this time we're ready. We're going to face it together. If you're reading this, it means something has gone wrong. The entity is real, and it's spreading through the game, reaching out through our microphones, our screens, our very connections to each other. And if you hear that scream while playing, don't look in the corner of your room. Don't hide under your bed. Just run. Run as fast as you can, because it's already too late. It's seen you. And now, it's your turn to become part of its game.